Hey, what's going on, you guys? This is John Chacon. Thank you, everyone, for chiming in tonight. I know we got some busy lives going on. Um, Still kind of waiting for a few more to check in here. We'll give it about 60 seconds, and then we'll just start rocking and rolling, guys. If you have anybody that might benefit from this after you get done watching this webinar, I will have it recorded, and I'll make it available for all you guys. But I got some great information coming up for you tonight. Feel free to take notes, and at the end, I will also I'll give it time for some questions. So give it about 60 seconds, and then we will rock and roll, my friends. All right, you guys, we are going to get this show on the road. First off, I just want to thank everyone for just chiming in on this. I got some great information. I also did this as a seminar last week here in Austin. Had some people come out and they had some great questions, some great feedback, and I hope we can do the same for you guys in attendance. So feel free to take notes and even take notes of things you want to ask towards the end. And this will be recorded, so you'll be able to check it out at a later time. But overall, guys, I just want you guys to just kind of expand your horizons and learn some cool new stuff that hopefully you can start implementing right away. So we'll get started. This is called Breaking the Fat Loss Code. This is part one of a series of 6 different parts of Breaking the Fat Loss Code. This first one is called Nutrition. I'll break down the rest of them at the end of this webinar. The next one, obviously, and hopefully for you, is going to be training. We'll talk about everything behind the training for when you're headed towards fat loss. So let's get started. Now, in order for you guys to move forward, I'm going to have to ask that you allow yourself to be challenged by new ideas. I want you guys to think. I know we have so many ideas that we've been told and things that we've learned ever since we were little about nutrition and losing weight and staying fit. And a lot of these ideas have become so familiar with and so comfortable in them. Some people will literally stick to those ideas even though they're not producing results for them, and they will stick to those things for years, decades even sometimes, even though they're not showing any progress. And in fact, sometimes things even get worse. So I want you guys to get out of those old mindsets. Perhaps some of the old things you do know still work, but for the most part, if you're watching this, there's a good chance that they don't. So I want to challenge you guys to do that so that you're not paralyzed by not willing to move forward. In addition to that, I have some expectations for you guys, expectations for yourself is probably a better way to put it. First off, there's a lot of information out there. Nowadays, I don't have to tell you, we have all the different types of social media. You got Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter. You have your friends telling you what to do. You have other personal trainers. You have people at the gym. You have old coaches. You have all kinds of people telling you what the right thing is to do. And so there's a lot of noise out there, and I want you guys to feel free. And in fact, I encourage you to cut through that noise, sift through the stuff, take things. They might not all be good. Take ideas. They might not all be good, but be willing to sift through those things. And when you do, I want you to learn the truth. Learn what actually works for you, what's worked for others. And the last part and the hardest part, this is where usually people stop, is actually doing the work, okay? You got to do the work, guys. You got to experiment. You're going to have some times where things are going so well in your fat loss challenge, and sometimes they're not going to be. And that doesn't mean you have to go back to the beginning. You have to find something new. It's, hey, let's check this out a little bit. Let's tweak some things. So tonight, I don't want you to take everything I say for face value. In fact, I challenge you with everything I say. I want you to put it to the test. I want you to find out if this really is something that does work for you. So moving on from that, after you've allowed yourself to take that on, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. So the majority of what I'm going to talk about tonight, guys, are the lies, the myths, the fallacies, all these things that we hear about and why they are making us fat. And so you're going to hear and see a lot of these things. You might nod. You might be like, I've never seen that before. But for the most part, you've probably heard a majority of these. And in fact, I just encourage you to think about what you've heard and if it's actually helped you out, and start rejecting these thoughts. It might actually be a good idea. It might help you out in your trek for fat loss and just overall fitness, guys. So here we go. So the first one we're going to talk about, I'm going to go through about 5 or 6 different fallacies, lies, and myths. And then after that, I'm actually going to go into 5 different hormones that actually regulate a ton of stuff, if not everything, going on in your body. So first lie / myth: breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Nod your head right now if you have heard that. In fact, you've probably even had your doctor tell that. And so first of all, guys, I'm not a medical professional, and I will not tell a doctor how to do his or her job. However, I will challenge you guys on some things they might be saying, so contrary to popular belief. So when you eat breakfast, first thing in the morning, whether it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in the morning, you are literally, the first time you take in that meal, you're shutting down your fat-burning hormones. Those hormones I'm going to talk about a little bit later, okay? And the reason behind this is you're creating a very large window of eating. So let's say you wake up and you eat at 6 or 7 a.m., and then you go to bed and you finish eating at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, okay? That's anywhere from 12 to 15, 16 hours of eating throughout the day. You're kind of grazing through. And so let me preface this by saying that breakfast is not a bad thing. It's not this evil thing. You can't not eat breakfast. But I'll tell you how it's going to help regulate your fat loss. There was a study, by the way, I know we're not mice, but this study is pretty groundbreaking. There was a study done with mice. There was a large group of them. There was the same number of mice. There was 2 groups. The first group was fed a diet of a specified number of calories, and they were allowed to eat and graze whenever they wanted. They could eat at 2 in the morning, 11 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, 5 at night. Doesn't matter. They were able to eat all day long whenever they wanted. The other group of mice, same kind of mice, they were actually given the same number of calories throughout the day, same type of food as the other group. However, they were only given an 8-hour window to consume their food. And the rest of the 16 hours, they weren't given food. They were basically fasting, and that's something I'm going to talk about later. So get this. The group that was able to graze all throughout the day, they actually ended up with an increase in about 30 to 40% more fat on their bodies. They ended up with high blood sugar, cholesterol issues, and actually liver damage. A lot of problems, actually. I'm not listing all of them. And the group that had an 8-hour eating window, believe it or not, they weighed about 26% less than the group that had all the time in the world to eat. And they had none of the problems that first group had. They were much healthier, much better off. They were leaner, they were meaner, they were better mice. So this is a challenging idea for you. Perhaps you might try not eating breakfast a few days out of the week. And all that's going to do, guys, is it extends your overnight fast. And when I say fast, it's just the time that you're not eating, okay? When you're sleeping, you're fasting, okay? So let's say you sleep for 8 hours, and I know most of us don't get that, but let's say you sleep for 8 hours, you're actually fasting because you are not eating, okay? And so when you skip breakfast, you're actually fasting, and you're extending that fast for a little bit longer, okay? And when you do this on a daily basis or on every other daily basis, it's called intermittent fasting, and you will turn into a fat-burning machine. And I'm going to explain more about that when I talk into the hormones when I go into that, guys. So hold your questions to the end, but write stuff down if this stuff intrigues you. So next one, eating frequently stokes your metabolism. Nod your head if you have heard of, I think probably like every diet book in the world for the 90s and the mid 2000s had eat 6 meals a day, or hey, have 3 large meals and 3 small meals. That's the way to go. That's how you're going to burn fat, build muscle. In fact, it's probably something you've heard a lot from people that are into fitness. You probably see it a lot in the fitness magazines. Doesn't matter what it is. So here's the truth, and this is why they thought this way, okay, guys? So the truth is we actually burn calories when we eat, okay? It's called the thermogenic effect. And so when we eat, it causes an increase in body temperature, and we actually burn calories to do that, to actually move the calories through our body. Now, the myth is burning more, or if we eat more often, because we're actually burning calories when we eat. If we eat more often, then we're actually going to burn more calories, and that is in fact not true. There was actually a couple major studies done, one in France, one in Canada, not by the French Canadians, and they both came to the conclusion that there was no evidence of improved weight loss with frequency of meals. And all they did with these studies, they're actually pretty similar. They had a group of people eat 3 meals a day, and another group eat 6 meals a day. Both groups were given the same types of food and the same number of calories, and yet it made no difference in their fat loss. However, the group that actually had 3 meals a day instead of 6 meals a day, they actually ended up feeling fuller for longer, which is kind of a good thing. They weren't as hungry as often, which is pretty awesome, which means you eat less often. You don't have to worry about taking a bunch of Tupperware and stuff like that with you everywhere you go. Trust me, I'm raising my hand. I was there. I did that, especially in college, and it was a big pain in the butt. So you kind of decide for yourself. Is it convenient for you to eat 6 or 7 meals a day? For me, it's not. If you're not in your head saying, hey, I could totally agree with that, then this might be your game. You may not have to eat those 6 meals. Maybe you could eat 2. Maybe you could eat 3. In fact, in one study, they found that eating all your calories in one meal at the end of the day didn't make a difference either versus 6 meals. So you make the choice, guys. I'm giving you the knowledge. So this is not a common one people hear a lot about, but some people are like, hey, don't eat more than 30 grams of protein at one sitting. You're going to get kidney damage over time, and it's just not a good idea. Our bodies can only digest so much, or whatever they say. And this thought, or this paradigm, actually started by a little experiment done by Dr. Patton Jones, and the study was conducted on 34 women. So there was no men in the study, and there was only 34 of them. Usually studies of this magnitude that produce such a shockwave of paradigm change, they are usually involving hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are being kind of tested and experimented with. But this one was only 34. And yet it still challenged the way we think, and still the way a lot of people think nowadays. But all he did was trying to see if our body was able to synthesize. And when I mean synthesize, is I just mean, was your body able to use this much protein? He had a group that had 30 grams of protein, another group that had 90. And he just found out that the group that had 30, or the group that had 90, their protein synthesis was just as much as those with 30, nothing better. So he just proved that eating all that extra wasn't any better than the 30 grams that people ate out of the study. So the conclusion was automatically anything more than 30 grams of protein is bad for you. In fact, we can't digest it. And I want to tell you that's wrong, guys. If you know you have in your brain, you're like, oh man, I want to have that giant porterhouse steak, or you want to have a ton. You just put whatever in your mind that you know you love to eat that has a ton of protein, and I don't want you to be afraid to eat it. In fact, here's the thing. The study didn't even include men, and I'm not saying women you cannot build muscle. That's not what I'm saying at all. You can, and you can look good doing it as well. So when you have more muscle on your body, you can actually synthesize or use protein much more efficiently and much better, okay? And that means you need more protein for your body, okay? And that's a good thing. Protein also helps you stay fuller for longer. You've probably heard that one before. And protein, remember we talked about that last slide, was talking about stoking your metabolism. Well, this is about as close as we get, and protein is more metabolically active. In other words, the more protein you have, like protein actually requires more work, more energy for your body to break it down, to metabolize it for use as energy or in your muscles or whatever it is. So it requires more calories to break it down. That's a good thing. Amount per meal does not matter, guys. So go enjoy that. I'm pretty sure out here I think it was Amarillo, as we were driving through. They had like some 72-ounce steak contest. Not that I would want to do that, but it sounded really good because that's a lot of protein and steaks are awesome. So go enjoy that big steak or whatever it is you guys want to eat, and don't be afraid of digesting more than 30 grams of protein. Here we go. Who's heard this one? Eating before bed makes you fat. Well, I don't know if this is necessarily something you've heard a lot about, but I've had a lot of people tell me, hey, don't eat after 7 or don't eat past a certain time of day. In fact, that seemed kind of flawed to me from the very beginning because everybody's created differently and everybody processes things differently. But here's where this actually came out of. I think there was an actor called Ryan Reynolds who's going to star in this new movie called Blade Trinity. You guys may have heard of it. And he got shredded, he got ripped, and he told all the tabloids and all the fitness magazines, hey, you know what? I just stopped eating after 7 o'clock. And immediately everyone's like, hey, that's the thing to do. That's what you got to do to be shredded, just like Ryan Reynolds. And in fact, that's not even the truest sense. And I'm going to talk to you guys about why that is when I start talking about the hormones. In fact, Alan Aragon, a very well-known nutritionist, said that your body doesn't store fat more readily in the evening than it does in any other point during the day. All you guys need to know is that timing doesn't matter, but the amount of calories and the type of calories does. Okay, and I'm going to go into that a little more. So, would you like a little more flexibility in your lifestyle, just in general, guys? Like, what I mean by that is, hey, would you like to still be able to go out and have something to eat at night with your friends? Let's say you get done hanging out, or with your family, friends, whatever it is, and it's 11 o'clock and you're just dying. You just got to eat something. But in the past, you would have been like, nope, I can't eat. It's after this time. I might as well go to bed hungry and super irritated. I want you to break through that, and I want you to enjoy that meal, okay? So would you like to have more flexibility in your lifestyle? I think I would. Okay, eat your carbs earlier in the day. Who's heard that? Like, front load all your carbs to the time in the morning, like all in the breakfast, right? That's the best time, because that type of thinking actually is flawed by the last slide that you guys heard, is just to not eat food right before bed. So it kind of goes hand in hand with that, but we're going to break through that. Here's what happens when you guys consume your carbs at night. And by the way, I'm going to tell you which days are probably the best days to consume your carbs. But when you eat more carbs at night, you produce more growth hormone. Okay, you release more growth hormone. And let me put it this way: growth hormone is a hormone designed to help cells grow, not just muscles, but everything. It actually helps you to burn fat, to build muscle, to look younger, and to feel younger. It actually increases your longevity of life. So growth hormone is a big thing. And yet it's still one of those things that we feel like we need to go and get a supplement of it, or we need to go get it injected. Well, I'm giving you guys the tools tonight to simply learn how to tweak your nutrition and your training lifestyle so that you can actually control your growth hormone, which is pretty awesome. So more growth hormone release, more carbs at night also means that if you train the next day, if you train in the morning or you train in the afternoon, you need some type of energy, some type of fuel. A lot of people feel like they need some of that blood sugar in their system to keep them going. Okay, and in fact, our muscles use glycogen, which is just blood sugar converted into an energy source for our muscles. And we can actually get more of that by eating our carbs at night, which means if you work out early in the morning, don't worry about trying to carb up before you work out. I did that when I was in the Marine Corps. I'd eat like a gigantic bowl of oatmeal before I went and ran 5, 10, 15 miles. Yes, they had us do that. And I was just so bogged down by how much food I just ate, and it was not fun. Had I just relied on the carbs I ate the night before, it would have been so much better. Plus, who has ever had a bunch of carbs and you just feel like passing out and going to sleep? Yes, I see you nodding your head. So I have too, and it helps you sleep a lot better. Okay, so enough said about that one. More growth hormone release, better glycogen storage for training, and better sleep. So next myth or lie or fallacy about nutrition: you need to eat. Sorry, I can't see what I'm looking at. You need to eat before you exercise. Okay, a lot of people. That's one of actually the most common questions I get a lot. Hey, John, what should I eat before I work out, dude? And I'm like, you know what? This is what I tell people. It's your preference. Do you like to eat before you work out? No, I don't. In fact, I get sick. Okay, then don't eat before you work out. Do you feel like you need more energy before you work out? Yes, I do. Well, hey, take a look at some of these stats. Digestion takes time. What I mean by that is, depending on the type of protein that you're ingesting, whether it's something like whey or it's something like soy or hemp or whatever, almond milk, whatever it is, all these different types of proteins digest at a different rate. Casein protein, whey protein, all these things digest at different rates. In fact, some of the slowest rates you'll hear is about 1 gram per hour, up to about 10 grams an hour. So let me put this in perspective. Let's say you had a protein-rich meal an hour before you work out, or let's say it was 30 minutes before you work out, just so you feel full. You probably just digested half a gram of protein, which probably isn't going to help out with your workout. Just being honest about that, okay? So it's up to you. If you just like to have that full filling before you work out, do it. It's like I said, it's just like the breakfast thing. It's not a bad thing, but it is a personal preference. If you don't like to eat before you work out, don't worry about it. And here's a cool thing: fasted training. Remember we talked about fasting? It's just your point or your period where you're not eating. When you don't eat before you work out, within like 2 or 3, 4 hours before you work out, you're actually able, through hormones, to build more muscle and to burn more fat through your workout. I did this when I was on the island of Okinawa with the Marines, and I would do training fasted every day. I would actually fast from when I slept and up until when it was about noon, and I would go out and I would do this crazy workout with sandbag, and then I would go ahead and eat right after that. I'd start my 8-hour eating window right after that. And man, I tell you what, I got shredded and it felt awesome. So fasted training is definitely a big thing. And sometimes, guys, if you feel hungry before you work out, maybe it's not that you need food. Sometimes, and actually a lot of the time is, one, you're not hydrated enough. You haven't been drinking enough water. And that can almost feel like the same type of symptoms as feeling hungry. And the other thing is, if you haven't gotten enough sleep, or your sleep has been really poor in quality, that's also going to induce some cortisol, which is a hormone I'm going to talk about later, which is actually going to make you more hungry. So get some sleep, drink your water, and don't worry about whether you need to eat before you train, okay? Next. Who's heard this one? I'll sleep when I die. Well, problem is, the reality is, you will die if you don't sleep enough, okay? Your lifespan will actually be decreased, and your quality of life will actually go way down. So here's what happens when you don't get enough sleep. By the way, folks, I am well aware that we all have very busy lives. I actually have little twin girls coming along the way, and I'm doing my own thing. I'm in a new city, a new state that I've been living in for about 5 weeks. So I'm right there with you on the stress and the sleep and all that stuff, and I'm about to get a lot less. But I encourage you guys to get more, or just increase the quality of your sleep, okay? And that's something I'll talk more about as we go on through these seminar series. But here's what lack of sleep does to you. Puts more fat on your body, makes you hungrier, actually decreases the size of your muscles, makes you more irritable. That's a new one. I haven't heard of that one before. And increases your stress during the day, and it leads to earlier death. So get some sleep. It helps out with your fat loss. Next. Insulin is bad, okay? Or insulin is the carb hormone. Insulin's a hormone and a word that's gotten tossed around a lot, especially probably within the last 5 to 10 years as we've started to discover what its effects are. In fact, insulin is a good thing. It's what we call the gatekeeper hormone, and it actually helps to transport particular cells in our body, fat, protein, all these things. It actually helps us to build muscle, burn fat, and it actually gives us energy, okay? And it's this hormone that decides where to put our cells or decides where to put different types of nutrients and where they go in our cells. Here's the problem, though. Our government, the USDA, recommends that all Americans should consume about 200 to 300 grams of carbs a day. Now, let me put this in perspective. Let's say you have a bagel for breakfast, or one of those very nutritious muffins that are often handed out at work. And then at lunch, you have a sandwich with probably a bag of chips on the side and maybe a soda. And then at night, you have either your rice or you have your pasta, and you probably have like bread or potatoes or something like that. You're having carbs consistently throughout the day. And maybe you have a piece of fruit at lunch or something like that. So you're having carbs 3 or 4 times a day consistently. And you've probably gotten in those 200 to 300 grams of carbs, maybe even more, not even knowing about it. So the more often that you're eating carbs, the more often your insulin is going to increase. So what I mean by that, guys, is every time you eat a meal, your insulin is spiked somehow, some way, either whether it's little or whether it's high. Insulin is a hormone that's secreted through your pancreas, okay, one of your organs. And insulin, when you consume carbohydrates and it gets converted into blood glucose, insulin spikes so that it can shuttle all those little glucose molecules into your body. Where you want those molecules to go is into your muscles, so that you have stronger muscles, bigger muscles, better muscles, and also to be used as energy for later. However, when you eat carbs really frequently, you have spikes of insulin throughout the day, really, really often, until you get to the point where your muscle cells become resistant. Thus the term insulin resistance. Your muscle cells become resistant to insulin and the fact that it's trying to shuttle this glucose into your muscle cells, okay? And guess what? Your insulin has nowhere else to put this blood sugar than to store it as fat. And in fact, as you start building up more and more insulin just kind of free floating around your blood and glucose, it actually starts to literally clog, get stuck in your bloodstream because there's way too much of it rolling around. And then your body gets to the point like, hey, you know what? Your pancreas is like, hey, we still got a ton of blood sugar in our bloodstream and it's not going where we need it to go, so we better produce more. And then you get to the point where your pancreas no longer knows how to regulate its insulin, and it all gets out of control, and that leads to type 2 diabetes and a whole bunch of other cardiovascular diseases, something we do not want. So what we really want, the goal is insulin sensitivity. That is the opposite of insulin resistance. All you need to know about insulin sensitivity is that your body is better able to more efficiently use insulin. In other words, insulin will shuttle blood sugar or glucose into your muscle cells and to be used as energy as opposed to fat. Okay, and we can control that by how often we consume our carbs. Once again, guys, I want you to enjoy your carbs. I don't want you to think carbs are evil, but we need to take control of how frequently we are consuming those. Okay, so controlling your insulin is going to be the key to really looking good. Hormones. Now, we talked about all those lies, myths, and fallacies. In fact, I have one more for you at the very end, but I'm not going to spoil that yet. I want to talk to you guys about hormones because they run everything. Who's seen The Sandlot? Maybe I'm too young. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old. It's a movie about kids in a back alley playing baseball on this sand lot, and it was a big deal. Anyway, there's this little kid with freckles and huge like Coke bottle glasses, and he said he kept yelling saying the word forever, and the camera just zoomed in on his face, and I just remember saying forever. So I want you guys to think about that little boy, especially if you've seen that movie, saying everything. Hormones control it all, guys. You've heard of all the magic pills, all the things you can buy, all the diets. It's all about hormones, guys. There's no magic pill, quick fix. It's all about the hormones and controlling those. And I'm going to give you guys the very tools that you need to control those hormones that you have available to you right now. Now, before I go into these slides, you're going to see the name of the hormone at the top of the slide, and then the rest of the slide is actually going to be how you can control that hormone to optimize it for your fat loss and for your performance in your fitness and in your training. Okay, I will explain in the background. You'll hear me talking about what that hormone does, but the most important part is what you need to know to regulate it. Okay, so you can kind of listen to my sciencey stuff if you want. But if not, then go ahead and jot down those things that are most important that will help you regulate those hormones. So first one, let me go back there. Okay, so 5 major player growth hormone, or major players in the hormone realm. Growth hormone, remember we talked about that one. Leptin, ghrelin, insulin, and cortisol. I'm going to talk about all 3 of these and let you guys know how you can help regulate those. First one, growth hormone. Remember we talked about this. It helps you burn fat, build muscle, live a longer life, and look younger. Who doesn't want that? And remember, growth hormone isn't just for muscles, okay? It helps all of your cells to grow or rebuild, okay? So it's a good thing. In fact, I already talked about how people are going towards supplement companies and doctors and trying to get growth hormone in some kind of pharmaceutical way because they don't want to take the time to figure out and look at what they're eating or look at their sleep cycles or look at any of these things that control growth hormone. I want you guys to do the opposite of that, okay? So first thing you can do is sleep more. And in fact, it's not just the amount of sleep you get, the quality of your sleep is going to be the biggest thing that matters when producing growth hormone. Faster in the morning, okay? When you don't eat breakfast first thing in the morning, after you get up, that's going to actually help you to produce more growth hormone. No, you're not going to go into starvation mode. Trust me, it takes about 48 to 72 hours, if not longer, to go into that. So don't worry about that. Faster in the morning, okay? Eat big before bed. Remember that one myth we talked about where you shouldn't eat all your food before you go to bed? Well, here's the one where I want you to do. Eat big before you go to bed. You're going to sleep really well, okay? And it's actually going to help you to produce more growth hormone as you're sleeping. How about that? You do some cool stuff as you're sleeping. Who doesn't want that? Now, next one, don't eat before a workout. Remember, it's not a bad thing. It's optional. But when you don't have anything to eat for 1 to 3 hours before your workout, it's going to help you to produce more growth hormone, okay? Give you guys a second to write those down. I will also have this on recording, guys, so just remember. All right, moving on. Next, leptin, okay? Leptin is a hormone that controls our metabolism through two other hormones. They're thyroid hormones called T3 and T4. You don't need to know what that means or what that is. However, the more fat you have to lose on your body, the more leptin you produce. So, for instance, let's say you had a lot of weight to lose and you went on some diet and you lost a lot of weight really fast. I'm talking like 10, 20, 30 pounds really fast in a matter of like a month or two. That's because your leptin levels were really high and it wanted you to drop that, okay? Now, guess what else regulates leptin? It's actually the amount of calories you put in your body. And leptin is also known as the survival hormone. Okay, remember that. Leptin is the survival hormone. So when you're not getting enough calories in your body, leptin actually triggers your body to stop burning fat. Literally stalls it, tells it to stop burning fat or to do it extremely slowly so that you have enough energy and your body can stay alive, because your body is super duper smart. Just FYI, okay? Everybody's body. So here's the problem though. Leptin, in order to keep the levels raised, we need to make sure that we're cutting down our calories, or that we're, let me put it this way, I guess a better way to put it. So here's the common problem. We cut our calories in order to lose fat, right? And we end up losing a lot. But here's the problem. A lot of people end up cutting too many calories, and then their leptin levels go down and they stop burning fat because it goes into survival mode. Doesn't matter how much fat you still have left to lose on your body. You may have 10, 20, 30, 50 pounds left to lose in your body, but because you're eating like 600 calories a day, your leptin levels are going to go way down and it's not going to allow you to burn fat. Okay, so that becomes kind of an issue when we drop our calories too much too fast. Okay, so there's some ways you guys can help that out. And it actually turns into this vicious cycle where that's where the term crash diet comes from. When you have a lot of weight to lose, you go on this really super caloric restricted diet, you lose a lot of weight, but then you stop losing weight, and so you put the weight back on, and then you find another diet, you do the same thing, and then the weight comes back on even quicker. That is leptin, and you're messing with it. Stop messing with it. So things you can do to regulate your leptin levels, okay? You want to keep those elevated while also staying at a caloric deficit or low calories so that you can continue to lose weight. Okay, first thing, fasting at least 16 hours a day. That includes your sleep, guys. So if you sleep 8 hours a night and you're fortunate to have that, then that's half of your fast. Okay, I'm going to talk about intermittent fasting. And let's say you get up at 6 o'clock, okay, and you actually finish your meal the night before at 10 p.m. So 10 p.m. till 6 a.m., okay, that's 8 hours right there, okay? And so if you eat at noon, that is a 14-hour fast right there. And if you push it past that, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, first meal, 16 hours, guys. It doesn't take that much. And when you fast, hey, water is cool. Unsweetened tea is cool. Black coffee, good to go. I love that stuff. It's awesome. So another thing, include strategic cheat meals 1 day a week. I have something that my wife loves and I love. It's called cheat day. Now we go and we enjoy just about everything under the sun that we want to consume, whether it's donuts or it's I can't think of delicious carbs right now. Pasta, pizza, bread, anything, okay? And we enjoy that because we kept our calories so low throughout the week because we were eating fewer meals. And in fact, our bodies actually wanted less throughout the week. But we get to have this day where we enjoy that, and actually helps to boost our leptin levels and get us back into that fat burning stage, okay? So it's a critical thing. Now, for you guys, when you start out, I recommend just have like a cheat meal on your cheat day, okay? I want you to enjoy that. Whatever it is, look forward to it, okay? Eat a diet that's high in protein. Now, the reason behind that is you can get in less calories during the day, but feel fuller, because remember, the protein helps you to feel full. Don't eat too much fructose. Just so happens, fructose is a particular sugar most commonly found in fruit, believe it or not, that actually has an effect on leptin that can be negative. And then don't drop your calories too low, guys. You see that in the parentheses, it says 500 to 600 calories per week. That's not per day. Drop your calories 500 to 600 a week. Now, the exception is you regularly eat 5,000 calories a day. Yes, you probably need to bring that down a couple thousand calories. You don't need that many calories unless you're genuinely trying to keep the weight on and produce more weight, which I don't think any of you would be doing if you were on this webinar. So bump them down gradually, okay? Not too much, or that leptin will creep up on you. You're going to lose a lot of weight real quick, and then it's going to stall, and you're going to wonder why, and then your friend leptin's going to give you a high five and say, it was me. Okay, so I'll let you guys copy those down just a little bit. Remember, I just want you to write down the bullets and remember the bullets, okay? Let me worry about the sciencey stuff. All right, moving on. Ghrelin kind of sounds like gremlin. I like to say ghrelin, but whatever. Everyone's kind of their own thing, potato, potato. So ghrelin is actually the hunger hormone. It's actually induced by hunger, and hunger secretes more ghrelin. So when you're hungry, you produce ghrelin, and ghrelin produces more hunger. So kind of makes sense. The way that we can regulate this is by eating fewer meals. Remember when we talked about that myth where eating a bunch of small meals throughout the day is actually going to stoke your metabolism, and we found out it really doesn't? It's because of ghrelin. So the more often you eat, the more hungry you become. About a year ago, I started incorporating breakfast back into my daily routine, and it was delicious. I loved it. It's bacon, eggs, sausage, all kinds of good stuff, and some good veggies cooked in a lot of oil and fat, and it was delicious. Now, unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize this until about 2 or 3 months later when I noticed I started putting on some fat. And so for me, it was hard because I'd worked so hard a couple years before that to get all that off. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm still eating really healthy. I'm eating tons of veggies, tons of protein. I'm not eating any carbs. I'm rarely eating carbs. In fact, only on my training days. And I should feel good. I should look good. Problem was, because I was eating more often throughout the day, I was eating 3 or 4 meals, and I used to only eat like 2 towards the end of the days. I had expanded that eating window, and I was eating throughout the day, and I found out as I looked at it, my meals were evolving and getting bigger and bigger and bigger because I became more hungry and more hungry and more hungry because I was eating often. So it can become this like vicious cyclic thing, okay? And so once I started fasting in the morning again, it helped a ton. Thus, our last bullet point there, practice intermittent fasting, okay? And throughout the week now, I can tell you honestly, I do the intermittent fasting on a daily basis, and I'm not that hungry when it comes to nighttime. I used to eat, if anybody knows me, you'd probably laugh. I used to have a bowl just for me because I had so many vegetables, and I used to eat like 2 or 3 breasts of chicken and or steaks or whatever it is, and then have like 8 eggs, okay? I still eat like 6. I like eggs. But anyways, I was eating a ton of food at night because I was eating very often, okay? And it got out of hand. So don't let that happen. Don't eat too often. Avoid eating too much sugar because that can actually produce more ghrelin, which actually makes you more hungry, okay? Watch the sugar. Eat more protein. It helps you feel fuller for longer. That's something I've emphasized again and again. Give you guys a couple seconds to write this stuff down. Feel free to ask questions at the end or check out the recording. All right, coming up next, insulin. That was that carb hormone, remember? But we know now that it actually regulates everything from muscle to your blood sugar, to your energy, to your fat loss, to everything, okay? The best way to regulate insulin is to practice intermittent fasting, okay? Decrease the frequency with which you're eating your carbs, okay? So try to cut it down from, instead of eating morning, noon, and night, try eating noon and night. And then after that, cut it down to at night, okay? And then try to eat your carbs on your training days. I'm going to go into this when we have the second part of the series and I start talking about training for fat loss and how carbs play into your training day. But when you eat carbs only on the days that you train or you work out or you exercise, your body will actually use those carbs more efficiently as blood sugar. In fact, instead of storing it as fat, it's more likely to store it as protein or as energy for later. Okay, so keep that in mind and try to do that. Quick little side note on insulin, or rather on decreasing carb frequency. My dad, a couple years back, his doctor put him on Lipitor, which is a well-known cholesterol medication. And he said, hey, he put him on the highest dosage he could give him. He said, you're going to be on this for the rest of your life. And my dad takes care of himself, and he works hard. He works with his hands all day. He's a rancher. He's a great guy, and he works a lot, and he's outside, he's active, and he is in his 60s. And so this was hard for him. And I started talking about it. This is about the time when I started looking into the paleo diet and all that stuff. And I said, Dad, why don't you try dialing down just your carbohydrates? Because he would have potatoes and bread in the morning, bread for lunch, bread at night. He loved bread, or his tortillas. And so he actually started cutting those down gradually, little baby steps. Instead of having it 3 times a day, he'd have it 2. Instead of having it 2 times a day, he'd then have it 1. Instead of having it every day, he'd have it every other day. Then he got to the point where he'd only have carbs like, once or twice a week, if that. So here's what happened. A couple months later, he went and got his lab work done at his doctor. Miraculously, his doctor's like, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm gonna bring down your cholesterol medication and I'm gonna cut it in half. No joke, guys. 2 months after that, my dad continued to dial down the frequency with which he's eating his carbohydrates. And then the doctor said, you know what? I like what you're doing. Let's just cut it down to about a quarter. He's still on that medication, guys, but he's down to about a quarter, if not less, than what he originally started with. And when his doctor told him he was going to have to take it at that dosage for the rest of his life. So that's not only is that a good example of what decreasing your carb frequency can do for you, but it's also a great example of how to question things and don't always take things for face value, even those things I'm talking to you about right now. Okay. Next hormone, cortisol. Cortisol is that stress hormone, right? We actually need it to wake up in the morning. It actually also helps us to go regulate our fight or flight mode, whether we need to go jump into a fight or we need to back off and run away, whatever it is, okay? But cortisol, if too frequently involved in our life, if it's being elevated too often, too much, we can actually end up with a whole bunch of problems. And one of those is holding on to our fat and, in fact, increasing the fat storage in our body. And trust me, I've been there, guys. I got to the point in my life at one point where I was working out way too much, like 3 times a day, every day. That's not a joke. And I actually experienced adrenal fatigue, and it led to arthritis in my body, which is very painful, and I don't recommend it. But because I was putting my body through so much stress, I was working 16-hour days. I was in the Marine Corps. I was in charge of way too much stuff that I shouldn't have been in charge of when I was 21. I want you guys to avoid that kind of stuff and don't get too stressed out. So first thing you can do is sleep more and improve that sleep quality. Remember, I talked about the sleep quality is more important than the amount of sleep that you're getting. Reduce your stress. Even the way you think about things can actually count towards your stress. Oh my gosh, I'm nervous. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to fail, or blah, blah, blah. Those things count too, and they actually make you more stressed out. Here's the problem with lack of sleep. Okay, so when you don't get enough sleep, you produce more cortisol during the day. When you produce more cortisol, you actually get less quality of sleep, which leads to more cortisol the next day, and it becomes this vicious cycle. So dial down the stress, increase the sleep. Okay, reduce the amount of fat on your body, and that's the way you look at this is the more fat you have in your body, the more stress your body has on it, because that extra fat goes beyond your body's natural equilibrium. Okay, there's more than it's there to handle, than it's been built to handle, and it's stressed out trying to regulate all that fat. Okay, and pay attention to the foods you eat. Some foods, guys, will cause more stress to your body than others. Whether it's a nightshade, whether it's like peppers or hot food, or nuts or something like that. A lot of the foods that we have allergies to, common allergies like dairy and eggs and nuts and these kinds of things, they're not the same for everybody, but for people who are sensitive to those things cause stress to your body. If you're getting acid reflux and like heartburn after you eat something, that's stress on your body. That's your body saying, don't eat that, please. Okay, just because you took a Tums doesn't mean that you're supposed to eat it or that you can get to enjoy it. Okay, because you're just adding cortisol and increasing those levels, and you're adding stress to your life. Okay, my personal experience with this was I was eating almonds, a lot of almonds, because I was like, I heard almonds are good. They're like this this awesome super food, and I would eat it every night before bed. And so I would eat like just a small handful. I didn't go crazy with it. I didn't go nuts with it. Anyways, and one night I ran out of almonds, and I was angry. I was like, I want my almonds, but it was too late. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I didn't want to go out to the store and get some. But I also had a bag of cashews in there that I didn't want to open. I wasn't a big cashew fan. And that night I ate cashews, came back home from work the next day, totally forgot to go get almonds again. I was like, whatever, I'll eat cashews. And so I just decided to finish off that bag until I got more almonds. Here's the thing. When I was consuming the almonds, I would floss my teeth at night, and my gums would bleed. They actually got inflamed, okay? But I thought this was just something that was happening with my teeth. I didn't know that it was linked to anything. But those 3 or 4 nights that I had the cashews, my gums didn't swell up, they didn't get inflamed, and they didn't bleed. And so then I kind of brought almonds back into the game just to see what's going on, and I noticed, lo and behold, my gums got inflamed and they started bleeding again. Not a good thing. So guess what? I don't have almonds in my diet anymore because they cause a negative reaction in my body that I paid attention to, and I don't want to do it anymore. So if you have foods that make you lethargic or sleepy or irritated, things that cause problem in your heart, your digestion, give you excess amounts of gas, that's probably not a good thing, and it's causing more stress in your body. So pay attention to the foods you eat. All right, going on to the next one. Remember, guys, write down these bullets. So, final myth. Fasting stores fat. And I kind of led into that from the very beginning. We all hear like, hey, if you don't eat often, or you don't eat enough, you don't eat your breakfast, you're going to start storing fat. And that is a myth, guys. In fact, intermittent fasting is one of the only eating strategies you can use to optimize all of these hormones that we talked about today. In fact, it can actually help to optimize testosterone and estrogen as well. You can improve your insulin sensitivity, your growth hormone. You can offset your cortisol production, which leads to all that fat production. You can control your leptin and your ghrelin levels. Remember, they control the thyroid hormones and your hunger, okay? You can control all that by simply intermittent fasting, okay? So get rid of that myth that fasting is going to help you store more fat. Remember, new ideas, guys. Think through them, give them a shot. It's the best you can do. Next, big takeaways for nutrition, guys. If you didn't write anything down, this is the one to write down to help you guys start taking action on this stuff right away. So, first one, get more sleep and get better quality of sleep. At night, make sure, try to shut off the TV, computer, phone, iPad, whatever it is, at least 30 to 45 minutes or an hour before you actually go to bed. Have a routine that you get into. What I mean by that is, hey, we get done eating this time, we shut down all our electronics at this time, we go into our bedroom at this time, and we have a low light lamp or light that you're using that's just real dim to kind of get your mind into that, hey, I got to sleep. Get some blackout shades, guys, okay? Get all that light, the street lights, everything. Get that out of your room. Seal off the doors, seal off the windows, whatever you need to do. Make it pitch black. Make the temperature comfortable for you, okay? We use a fan. We actually enjoy the fan because, one, it provides a background noise that is frequent, and it helps us not to focus on anything else. And then also, it keeps our room cool. Make the room cool. We naturally sleep better that way, okay? If you don't like to sleep with cool air, that's cool. We live in Austin. It's like 100 degrees every day, so we like to do that. Eat your carbs less frequently. Remember, limit those carbs to your training days and do your best not to eat them at every single meal, guys. And in fact, push them towards the nighttime. Remember, eat those carbs at night. Boost your growth hormone, okay? Carbs and fat are not evil, okay? In fact, here's a good statistic. As soon as we started taking away fat in our diets, remember there was like a big fat scare back in like the 90s, late 80s or something like that, where they said, hey, stop eating saturated fats. It's causing obesity and diabetes and all these things and cardiovascular disease, heart disease. Well, guess what? Since they made that proclamation, obesity has gone up 30, 40, 50% in our nation. I don't think that's helping us out. You decide, okay? Eat more high-quality protein and fat. Those two things will help you stay fuller for longer, and they will be better utilized by your body to have more energy. And get this, fat actually has double the calories per gram that either protein or carbohydrates does. Protein and carbohydrates each have 4 calories per gram, and fat has 9, a whopping 9. By the way, alcohol has 6 calories per gram. Don't think you're getting away with alcohol, guys. In fact, your body treats alcohol as a poison. And what I mean by that is your liver has to filter everything through your body. As soon as you ingest alcohol, your body slows down all these other metabolic processes, including fat burning and muscle building, and actually diverts attention towards getting that poison filtered out of your body so it can go back to stuff. So if you're eating super well and you're working out religiously, consistently, 3 or 4 days a week, you're not eating so much carbs, but then you go out on Fridays and Saturday nights and you binge drink and you drink a whole lot, guess what? You're actually probably, I'm not going to doubt it, that you're probably going to put on some more fat, more than you already have, even though you're working out more and you're eating healthier, guys. It's just not worth it. By the way, I love beer. Beer is great. It tastes awesome. Wine is good too. Or whatever your favorite alcoholic drink is. Just don't overdo it, guys. Enjoy it here and there. You know, we got to be social. We got to enjoy life, right? So you don't have to take it completely out of your life. I'm just telling you guys what it does. Don't let it scare you. Still enjoy that stuff. Just don't do it as frequently because it might be hindering your progress. Eat less frequently. Remember, we talked about grilling and how calories are the things that matter throughout the day, not the frequency that you eat. In fact, 2 or 3 meals a day is probably just fine, especially if you leave them towards the end of the day. Reduce the amount of stress you have in your body, guys. That's going to regulate that cortisol. And try intermittent fasting. That's the big takeaway. And when I say intermittent fasting, guys, all I'm talking about is fasting 14 to 16 hours in your day. You can even start out at 12, okay? And the fasting starts right after you're done with that last meal the night before, whether it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever it is. And between that time and the time that you eat your first meal the next day, okay? And remember, include your sleep in that. Don't think that you have to add 16 hours onto whatever your sleep was, okay? So start low, start at 12, work your way up to 14, 16 hours. And then that 8-hour window or that 10-hour window, that is your window to eat your food, okay? And that's going to help you do all these things, regulate these hormones. Let's see. Okay, want more? We have more seminars coming up. Some of them are going to be here in Austin, and I'm also going to do recordings and webinars on these as well. In fact, I have a survey at the end of this webinar where I encourage you guys to answer some questions so that I can best serve you guys and give you guys what you're looking for, okay? So part 2 is actually going to be on training for fat loss. How do I train in order to lose fat and just build muscle and feel good and look good, okay? We're going to talk about that. Part 3 through 5 is actually going to be what I call the change mindset. We've been doing the same thing for so long, and yet it's so hard for us to make changes, guys. I've dealt with the same thing. It is hard to make changes, okay? But I'm going to give you guys the keys that you need to make those changes, okay? And I'm going to talk about what those are. If you can imagine, the elephant is your emotions, and the rider is the rational side or the thinking side of your body. And that rider is trying to direct that elephant, okay? You can imagine how hard that might be. And then we're also going to talk about shaping the path or the environment that you're in and how you can put that and control that in order for you to change. Doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're trying to lose fat, build muscle, quit smoking, be a better whoever, brother, sister, husband, wife, whatever. And then we're going to put it all together at the end, guys, and give you the ultimate plan that you can start implementing right away on your own. But remember those 2 things we talked about at the very beginning. In order for you to get the most out of this, okay, is I want you to get out of your comfort zone. Start asking questions. Don't believe everything you are told, okay? Even things that I told. I want you guys to learn and grow and try things out, okay? Explore new ideas. Be challenged, even from things you think you already know. Always, always be willing to ask questions. And with that, I'm going to open it up for questions here. And I'm going to figure out how I can do that here in just a second. But while I'm trying to figure that out, if you guys want even more, if not to catch on to the rest of these webinars, we also have a free newsletter that I put out once a week. I call it the Strength Newsletter, but it's totally free, guys. I don't send you a bunch of spam or anything. In fact, I send usually about 1 email a week. It has something to do with motivation, training, nutrition, mindset. And I usually use videos and links to pictures and stuff that I use. I include articles I've written or that I've read, things that are going to be helpful to you guys. The most I'll ever send you is maybe 2 things a week. I'll update you on events as well, what we got going on. But stay in the know, guys. I want you guys to learn a lot. A great way to get on that is go to johnchacon.com. That's our main website. /strength blog. Okay, make sure you include that dash in there. And you just scroll down the right side and you'll see an opportunity for you just to put your name in there. and your email address. Again, I won't spam you. I will not sell your email address. I think that's rude because I've had it done to me, and I want you guys to get the most. If you want to follow us for more webinars and more great information on fitness, please check out our Facebook page at our Facebook group, Austin Performance Fitness. So let me see here. Questions. All right, so if you have questions, I'm going to have you guys see if you guys can do that. I want to make sure I can answer questions. Go ahead and fire away. If you, hopefully you have some type of way that you can ask them. I'm not quite sure how to do this. I'll let it fly for another 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions, feel free to type those up and write them down, and I'll see if I can see them on my screen and try to get them best answered for you guys. Again, I want you guys to know this stuff. I am getting this thing. It is recording right now, so you guys can get the most out of this. Let's see. Nothing yet. Let's see how we're doing on time. We got about 3 or 4 minutes. If you guys have questions, just go back, look through your notes, and start asking them. I may not have the question thing like fired up here. I'm still trying to figure this out. But I'll keep it open here to see if anybody's able to ask questions. Let's see. Once again, guys, remember too as well that we have more events coming up. We are putting on some more seminars here in Austin. I do want to go back to that actually because that's a pretty cool deal. Let's see here if I can make that one available again. Got some cool stuff. Okay, I try to put them out every couple weeks, and I want you guys. Come on, I'm not the most technically savvy person. You guys can tell that. But I want you guys to be involved with this stuff. And I even put a little survey at the end. Like I said, as soon as you guys log off, you'll be able to answer the questions that I put on there to make sure that you guys are getting the most out of what we can provide for you. Whether you have specific questions you want to know more about, whether it's training, nutrition, mindset, or just anything in general, let me know what those things are. Let me know things that we can tweak for this webinar, guys. I'm not the best speaker. I'm not the best guy at seminars and webinars, but I want to get better. So I encourage you guys to give honest feedback and let me know what we can do for you guys. Let's see here. Questions. Ooh, I wonder. Let's see. All right, I think I unmuted everybody, so if you have questions, go ahead and fire away, if you do. And once again, folks, we have about a minute left to go. If I don't get anything, probably the next 30 seconds, guys, I'm going to say peace out for the night, and just encourage you guys, share this recording. I'm going to post this on the Facebook page and then also through